Hi, this is Steve from Advanced Captivate Training. In this video we're going to show you how to do a tabbed interaction as a static project in Captivate. And we'll take a look at the finished product first, and then we'll show you how it was built. This is a fictitious interaction for an interaction for a fictitious veterinary clinic. And it's called a tabbed interaction because there's tabs across the top, and you see when you hover over them the state changes. So these are all buttons, and we have a couple multi-state objects down here. These two boxes, we have one for images and one for text. And as I said, even you hover over a button, it changes its state to the hover state. You go ahead and press it and it changes to a active state, so you know at what point in the project you are. And as you click the next button, the previous button that you've visited already turns to a visited state, and the image and the text boxes change according to the tab that you're on. So the student would tab through each one of these tabs and read the information. And we're going to use buttons with multi-state objects here, and advanced actions and variables. So if you want to see how this is built, let's get started. Okay, I opened up a new project in Captivate, and I've already went ahead and drawn a few basic shapes. This rectangle up here that I filled in with gray, just to give me some room for a title or navigation in the future if I need it. I did the two rectangles for the image box and the text box. You see I went ahead and labeled them image box, text box, and then my first button here I've created the shape for, and I'm going to go ahead and build out the first button, and then go ahead and copy and paste that 4 more times so that I have all the same states. So I only really have to do that once, and then I just go in there and change the images. So we'll go ahead and do an image fill on this one. I've got all my images already all created in Photoshop. I'll show you what I got here. I got an image for each one of the states, and then another image for the image box. So you want to have all those created before you get started. Just makes it easier on you. So we'll go into the state view. And we're going to give first thing we want to do is click use as a button. I always forget that, but no big deal. You can just come out here and click use as a button, and then go back into the state view. And in each one of these you can put the image fill, and then put in your image that you have for each one of those states. So the cat's hover state. I'm not a big fan of the down state, so I always delete that one, but you can use it if you want and just create a different image for that, or just use the same rollover image. So we're going to create a new state, an inbuilt state, the visited state. And we'll change our image for that to the cats visited. And then we will create a new custom state for our active state. And then we'll put our active state image in there for the cats. And those are all the states for that button. So we'll exit the state. We'll copy and we'll paste this one 4 more times. And we'll worry about the alignment here in a second. I want those ones to be aligned with the edge there. So we'll go ahead and highlight all of these boxes, and we'll align with the top, and then we will distribute them equally across the range there. So they'll all be distributed and there'll be a little space in between there. And we'll take these two boxes and we'll bring those to the front so that the buttons will be behind the two boxes. All right, and then we can go in and change the images on these states. So if I didn't copy and paste it, I would have to come back in here and recreate all of these states. So now I just need to go in and change the images. Makes it a little bit easier. And when you create the images, you want the aspect ratio to be similar to what your button is going to be, so that there isn't any scrunching of the pictures or make it look weird in your finished product. So it does take some prep work before you get started building it. But all that prep work really pays off by making it easier to build your project in Captivate once you have all that stuff completed. So I'll just continue to go ahead and do all of these. Try not to talk too much while I'm doing these, but one thing you always want to do is rename all of your objects so you know exactly which one you're working with. So we're going to rename all these. Make the name something you can easily identify, because once you start using the advanced actions, it'll be easier for you to know which object you're talking about if it has a name you can easily recognize. And that way you know which button you're dealing with. So I will go ahead and go through all of these remaining buttons and change all of the images. And when you build your buttons, you don't have to build with the same colors that I use, but make it something easily identifiable so the student can know, when they're hovering over something, or when they've already visited a state, or which one is the active state. Just makes it easier on the student. And we'll go to the final button and change those images. Okay, now that we have all of our button states built out, we can go ahead and build out our image box here. We do a state view on that one. You don't want to use it as a button, but you can do a state view. You can see I have them all built out already. So just a different image from the button image depicting the different animals. And you create the states the same way, a new state, and then just name it whatever your state name would be, and then add the image as an image fill. And if we go to the text box, you'll see I haven't built that one out yet. Oops, go back to the image box. I need to add one more image here, the normal state image. So we'll do an image fill there. And we already have this veterinary clinic logo installed there, so we'll go ahead back to the text box. All right, and for the text, I will just go ahead and copy and paste from a document I have open. And if you don't like the font, you can go ahead and change that. A little bit of formatting here. We'll go ahead and create a new state for each one of our buttons. And we'll copy and paste our text into each one of those state boxes. Another state for our dogs button. And don't worry about what the content is here. I just kind of made stuff up off the top of my head, so don't send me any comments saying that this is wrong or that is wrong, because it's just all just made up anyway. But if you were working in a real project, you would use valid content. But here we're just kind of showing you the framework, and you can put in whatever content you would like in your project. And our final bit of text here, we'll go ahead and copy and paste that in and format it real quick. All right, we have all of our text states built. So we'll go ahead and exit our states. And we pretty much have all of the content built out now. Now we just need to move on to the variables. Okay, now we'll go ahead and create our variables, and then we'll create our advanced actions. So you want to add a new user variable. We're going to call this one cap button. Set it with a value of 0. And we'll add one for the dog button, again with a value of 0. And we'll create a variable for each one of our buttons. And we'll use these variables to control the states of our button. Alright, so all of our variables are created. And we'll go ahead and start creating our advanced actions. And I'll create the first one fully. And then we'll just copy that and change it for each one of the other buttons. It'll be a lot less work. So the first thing we want to do on this first button is we want to go ahead and rename the tab to Reset Buttons. So essentially when you press a button, it's going to go through and reset each one of the buttons back to their normal state. And then with our other tabs, we'll go ahead and check each button to see if it's been visited or not. And then in our final tab, we'll do the actions that are going to change the state of our button and then change the state of the image box and the text box. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to change state of cat button to normal and do that with each one of the buttons. So when we first click on a button, it's going to change everything back to normal, and then with our subsequent actions, we're going to go ahead and set our visited state for each button that has already been visited. and then with the final tab it'll be changing the states of all the other objects. Okay, so we'll go ahead and create a first tab. Do a conditional tab, so we're going to say if the variable cat button is equal to literal value of 1, then we're going to change the state of the cat button to visited. And we'll do that same thing for each of the other buttons. Let me just go ahead and duplicate that one. And you want to save it each time in case something happens and the project closes or shuts down somehow. That way you don't have to redo them all again. Okay, so we just need to add one more tab. This will be the action of what's going to happen. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to assign our variable for the cat button with the literal value of 1. So once we click on this button, once you go to the next button, once it goes through all of these actions, it will recognize that that's been visited already and set that button to the visited state. And we're going to change the state of the cat's button to active so that it'll change it to the active state when this button is active. We're going to change the image box to the cat image, and then we're going to change the state of the cat button, the text box, to cats. And now that we have this all built out, we'll go ahead and duplicate this action, because these first 6 buttons will pretty much remain the same, and so all we'll have to change is the final action, change it from cat to dog, and then we'll change these other variables. We'll assign the dog button with 1, change dog button to active, change the image box to dogs, and text box to dogs. And we'll save that action. Go ahead and duplicate that one again, and do that for the remaining 3 buttons. Okay, now that you have all of your advanced actions built, you can go ahead and assign them to each one of your buttons. Select your button, and under Actions on Success, select Execute Advanced Actions, and then select the script that matches your button. And we're going to go ahead and do this for all 5 buttons. And just making sure that the script matches the button. Now that we have all of our buttons assigned with their actions. We can go ahead and save our project. Then we're going to go ahead and preview our project and just make sure that everything works. All right, and your splash screen, just go ahead and press the play button to get the project started. Everything looks great so far. You want to go ahead and hover over each one of the buttons to make sure the hover state operates properly. Then you want to click on your buttons. Now you see it changes to the active state, and then the image box and the text box change. So you want to go ahead and do this for all of your buttons. And when you get to the next button, you'll notice that the previous button went to the visited state. The current button is in the active state. You can go in any order. Don't have to click it in order. You can go and test all the buttons in any sequence you want. Make sure all the states change. The active button and the visited button states are all working properly. Looks like we've done really good on this one. If you like this video and you want to get all of my other videos, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. If you want to like this video, I'd appreciate it. And if you have any questions, just leave them in the comment section. Thank you very much, and you have a great day.